So it is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee to order pursuant to governor's orders. We are meeting remotely. If you would like to read more about that, it's available on the town website. I'm going to start with a quick roll call of everyone on CIPC. Sue Robbins.
Here.
Jeremy Graves.
Here.
Greg Marr.
Here.
Amy Marr.
Here.
And Colleen Roy is here. And we are joined tonight by the Library Capital Campaign. Doug, I don't know, do you need to take a roll call at all for that?
I don't think so, although Dana Wilson needs to be on here, so let me text her and see where she is.
All right.
But yeah, I'm Doug Bowman, and Don Anderson is also on the committee, as well as Carrie Hogan and Dana Wilson.
Excellent. Carrie, I keep trying to promote her to panelist. This doesn't seem to be, she has to accept that. I see Kyle also on CIPC has joined us. Welcome, Kyle.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Kyle.
Oh, there you go, Carrie. How does that work better for you?
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, thank goodness. That was so frustrating. So Dana actually texted me and she was having trouble connecting. So if Dawn or Doug could email her the link, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
I can try. I know all I have is the scanned image.
All right, here, I will.
Actually, no, that's true. You sent that in an invite, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to
Yeah, I
the
have
Zoom
it.
and put in the meeting ID, but
I just sent her the link that I got from Zoom.
oh, thank you, Doug.
Perfect. Oh, there she comes.
Perfect. So it looks like everybody is here and welcome. So I think what tonight's kind of trying to have a better understanding about the Library Capital Campaign, you know, what's this funding source really about, and just answer some of the questions that CIPC may have. So I don't know if you want to do a quick rundown first, and then we can just get into some questions if that works for you.
I mean, there was two things. One is I was thinking Dana could do kind of an intro, you know, what the mission of the, you know, mission and history of the campaign is. And then I did put together a sheet that essentially kind of summarizes all of our donations, you know, to date, and the projects that we've already contributed to, as well as some that's kind of on the books that we're going to be funding here in the future.
Awesome. Did you send that to me that I could send to the committee?
I did not. I was thinking of just sharing, but I can send it.
Yeah, we can share, but if you send it to me too for them to review after, that would be great.
Great. So can you hear us, Dana? You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ken.
Okay. That document that you're sending, some of that is still to be determined. So can you just keep it amongst yourself then? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry you can't see me. I'll try to do this. You're not seeing me, right?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Okay. Let me just. I can't even see myself, but you can hear me. I'll make it. Yeah, no, that should be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't have an option for some reason to show video either, Dina. So I'm not sure why. Looks like.
Is anybody seeing me yet?
You look dark, like your screen.
Oh,
like
okay. That might be my fault.
there you go.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I can't see myself, but that's okay. So anyway, thanks for inviting us to your meeting. So I was just going to give a brief outline of what the Capital Campaign is and why it was developed and really the purposes of it. So it was created in 2016, and it was the Grafton Public Library Capital Campaign is a 501c3 nonprofit organization under Internal Revenue Service Code 501c3. So what happened is, quite a while ago, I think it was like around 2011, there were people that were fundraising for the capital campaign. That's when we were trying to have a building. That was when we were waiting to see if the town would approve the grant. And what happened is, because there was no entity or organization to take any of those funds, no funds were collected. So then what happened as time went on, and we knew that we were going to be having construction or renovation of the library, the library supporters wanted to do, we knew in order to get donations, we had to have a separate entity, say from the Friends, because people would say, well, the Friends is a nonprofit, why can't it be there? No, we wanted to create one that was separate on its own and had different missions. So that's what we did. And I'm one of the people that worked on it. So we did it without any aid of any accountant or anything, but we made it. The federal government gave us our distinction, so we're very happy. So what happened is we considered a foundation too, but a foundation was expensive, and that's when Hank Pooler was still alive, and he wasn't for a foundation, and he thought it would be too complex. So we just decided to make the capital campaign, the 501c3 organization. And it's created to be available really in perpetuity. So donors will understand the funds will be used for construction and renovation projects, purchase furnishings, help increase the use and access to the library through improved technology. I'm the chair, Dana Wilson. The treasurer is Doug Bowman. Vice chair is Carrie Hogan. Secretary is Don Anderson. I also wanted to, so that you know some of the things that we've been able to do. We worked with a donor that was not able to give funds to the capital campaign because it's their mission statement doesn't allow that. But we worked hand in hand with them, and they were able to give us $10,000. And what we did with that is we gave it over to the library and under Beth Schreiber, and I believe she used that for programming. I just want to highlight some of the things that we were actually able to do, and that is a very prestigious organization in town. I guess we can talk about this later. I did some research on the cupola and on some grants that are available, but so I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'm, glad to answer them. We did initially in 2017, we did a direct mail piece to all the Friends, and that sort of got the ball rolling. And then when Doug and Carrie and I were on the committee, we started doing actual asking for donations for people in person. So Doug and I met people like on the Grafton Common. That was because of COVID and whatnot. So we got through that, but that's how we did it. Most of it was through direct contact to get these donations.
All right, so thank you very much for that history and to how we got to here today. I'm going to open it up to the CIPC members if they have any questions. I know I certainly do. Go ahead, Sue.
Dana, when you first went out to ask, did you have a plan of what you wanted the donations for? Was there a 5-year schedule you were working with?
No, what it was is what we had basically was we had the plan, the architect's plan for the design of the building. And there were a lot of projects that were out of the scope of the project, and we were trying to fundraise for those. And what happened is we had the way we set it up like a whole camp, it was a complete campaign. So we had, we figured out what rooms could be named, and then what rooms and outdoor and other things, anything like the amphitheater, community patio, the roofs, the green roofs, and the entryway, just different areas. Like the children's room was donated. The donor of that is Homefield Credit Union, so they donated funds for that to have it named. So it was we sort of really used the plan that the architects and the building and construction planning group that made. So we figured out what we wanted to basically get some money. And then also there were a lot of people that said, you know what, we want to give to projects out of the scope of the building. So then we moved in that area to be able to capture some of those donations.
And offhand, how many out of the scope, those things that were out of the scope, did you have? For
A lot, many. Amphitheater, community patio, the patio that's a teenager's patio. We still have yet to do, we still have to, we had all our landscaping that was done. The piano, community garden beds. Let me see what else there were.
Furniture too, right? Because that had to be raised.
Yeah, well,
Well,
furniture.
that was originally in the scope, but
We,
the funds came from the
the
capital
furniture was a
campaign.
whole different ball happened. What happened is they didn't have enough money to, I don't know exactly what happened, but they didn't have enough money to buy the furniture. So it came to us, Beth did, and we bought, and the shelving, we bought the shelving, and then we bought some furniture, and we're in the process now of, she has a list for outdoor furniture and a couple other things that she needs. Also, what happened is we wanted to be available for the library director if things changed as we went along, and like they did, there was no plan. Initially, the person, in the lobby, that person was supposed to be part-time, and we had it like on a little, you know, it was like on a temporary desk. And then we realized, gee, we really need someone to be in this lobby, and they've got to be here full-time. So there was much stress about that, but Doug and I said, well, listen, why don't let's bring it to the capital campaign. We'll get you we'll get furniture to match what you already have. So, and it'll look good. So don't worry about it. So we did that, for example. And I think we also gave monies were also given to a software that was in the children's room. There's some kind of station where the kids can read and do different things. So that was given through donations as well.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
also the 3D printer.
Dana, how much money does the capital campaign currently have right now? And are you guys still actively fundraising?
Well, we're not actively fundraising, but we have a lot of projects that we have to complete for the library. And Doug can get over those.
Yeah,
but
I'd be
we have
glad to go
several.
through that if you want to go through that now.
I think
Yeah,
that
and
would be helpful.
our idea was to have some money available, not to go to zero, to have money available, because this is something that we want to, it's going to be around for a long time. There's no reason for us. All we have to do basically is every year file, tax returns and basically pay a nominal fee to have the group exist. So that's what we did, because we thought, what happens in 5 years if they need something else that's big? Let's keep this campaign as an entity going.
So how is money being prioritized and who's deciding what gets spent? For example, you mentioned the piano. Who authorized the spending on that piano?
Well, that was part of the building project, the planning and construction, and Beth, the director, wanted that and said she needed to have that, and it was part of the building plan. So that was planned all along. And it may seem a lot to you. It's just that we did refurbish it. I mean, we did a lot of work. We got a refurbished piano, and it was done by a local expert.
It's not that it's
Yeah, that's a good
a
example
lot,
of,
but
I'm sorry.
it's not that it seems like it's a lot. It's just that I have problems with how things are being prioritized when you have a hole in your roof, but you're prioritizing a piano over that. And I guess I'm trying to understand
Well, may I
how
speak
money's
towards
being
that?
authorized.
At the beginning, we didn't have a hole in the roof. And I myself think we know the cupola now has to be repaired. We didn't know that. And we had already made plans, but my thinking of that is that it really I believe it's a historical renovation. And I think that should be funded like I looked at, for example, we got a grant from Mass Historical Commission like 20 years ago. And they have a grant round that's open right now. It's open and it closes in March. And it's called the Massachusetts Preservation Projects Fund. This is the same group that funded like a lot of the One Grafton Common building. And so they have a grant that's open. They have $1 million. And what they've done in the past, like their last grant round, they gave like anywhere from 40 to 50,000 to like They give it to, it's only to municipalities and nonprofit organizations, so we fit the parameters. So Littlefield Library, for example, got 40,000 in Tingsboro. Town of Falmouth received 50,000. Danvers Historical Society, 24,000.
And
So
that, Dana, that's
feel like-
fantastic, and I hope our library director does apply for that. But what I'm trying to come down to is the time frame, because we've known the cupola was leaking for several years. When was the piano
Well,
ordered?
I think, I guess we'll have a disagreement on that.
No, but when
we-
was the piano ordered then? Let's just start there.
The piano's been it was in the 2016 building plan. So, I mean, it's been there for 8 years, and we
And-
probably ordered the piano, I don't know, maybe two or 3 years ago is when we started working with the piano restorer.
And that is part of the program. We were taught that that's part of we were told that's part of the planning and construction program. So that's why we got that, achieved that.
Sue?
The piano was within the scope?
Yes.
Option?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How is that possible?
Well,
If-
go ahead, Doug.
Well,
Doug
no, I was
was
just gonna say, if you look in the 2016 building program, which is on the library website, part of that building program is the library wishes, the community, we had community meetings to put that program together. And piano was part of it. It's been in the
Okay.
schematics since day one. If you look through any of the building schematics, it's been there. And,
I've
I mean,
always-
there's a lot of libraries with pianos.
Well, that may be the case, but I guess I'm not quite understanding how something that's a program and in the schematic become part of the scope of a construction of a building. I think
It-
there's a real
had to-
distinction.
Well,
I
it wasn't
think-
it wasn't part of the scope as far as what went out for bid, from the town perspective, because we decided, or whoever decided that they'd pull that out because it'd be part of the capital campaign and we'd fundraise for that.
Okay, so that's why I want to time out. Whoever decided, that needs clarity for me. And Amy, I see your hand, so I'm going to get to you in a second, but it sounds like this funding source, I'm just concerned in how things are being prioritized. And while a piano may have been on the plan for a long time, does a hole in the roof not trump that? And do we now start to reprioritize, or do you guys just have a plan from 2016 and you're trucking through that plan regardless of what's happening around you?
Well, Colleen, what I was trying to explain to you is that, what I was trying to explain to you, a project like that is really historical preservation. We have the CPC committee in town. They could give some, we could also, honestly, I want you to know about this. Just let me say this, because I've been involved with grants for many years, and with the the Grafton town has a great reputation with the grantors and the foundations, including the Mass Cultural Facilities Fund and the Preservations Fund. And you might say, why? Because we have taken care of our buildings. Apple Tree Arts was given grants and they completed them. And also the library was given a grant and we completed it. So we're in a really high regard. So I would think that we would really have a good opportunity to get some of that money, and for us not to write a grant would not be in the best interest of the town.
But that's what the spirit of the library capital campaign is, to defray capital expenses, including but not limited to library construction, renovation, building maintenance and upkeep, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So that's the whole spirit of this campaign. And that's what I'm trying to understand, is how things are being prioritized.
Well, there's I can address that. There's there is a group of us where the people like the chair, vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer, chair, vice chair, and the secretary. And it's based upon what the things that that we went to the library director to find out what she needed. And we also had, when things were just, when things are underway, like the shelving, that should have been covered, but there was not enough funds for it. So the capital campaign said, yes, we will cover that. And then we also helped with, some things just weren't followed that Beth had asked for. There wasn't enough electric outlets, so we helped pay for that. And different individuals gave monies for different things. So that's basically that's one of the ways that we strategize. But we looked at the plan, like The amphitheater, we knew the amphitheater was going to need certain, that would need funding. And we also knew like the community patio would need it. And then it was decided to make a patio for the teenagers, and we knew that would be necessary. So there were some things that we were well aware of. And we're
Yeah, and
not
there, as
saying
you
that
can
we-
tell, these are, oh, sorry, Dana. These are all part of the building project, right? Unlike the cupola, which is a part of the existing building, it wasn't part of this whole renovation plan and the building plan.
Amy,
And I'm not saying that we can't help towards this, but I've been told by Beth, it's at least 100,000. And I think there are other funds that we can get that we should really go after. There's no reason why not to.
right, she's already been turned down by CPC, so unfortunately, that's not an avenue.
Well, why was she
That's why
turned down by them?
You'll have to watch that meeting, but Amy, you've had your hand up for a while.
Okay.
Hi, sorry, I can't show my face. I'm actually sick. So I guess I have so many questions that I just can't articulate. And I guess what I'm figuring out now is that the campaign is run completely separately from the library itself. And there's a disconnect there because we've known about the cupola for years. And she's come to this committee a couple of times and asked for the funding for it. And every time it goes up and up and up, but we still don't have a number. We don't have a solid number on what that's going to cost. The concern that I have about the campaign is actually probably beyond the scope of this committee. And that is that you cannot have a capital campaign just hanging around in perpetuity. It has to have an end date. It has to stop its fundraising efforts and spend the money and then close. That is my understanding of how that law is constructed. So
When I
let me
applied for
finish.
that. Okay, sorry,
you
Amy.
can't interrupt people in a public meeting, okay?
I'm
Wait to be
sorry, Amy.
recognized by the
Please
chair.
excuse me.
So it concerns me because what a layperson sees from the outside is there's a group of people that's associated with the library that has a pile of money that bought a piano. Well, there's all these other things wrong with the building. And that may not be a fair characterization, and I apologize. But that is what the people see. And that is a concern for me as an elected representative of the people of the town and put on this committee largely to represent the schools. But the schools can't have a capital campaign. The schools can't raise money like this. So you guys have this money, and I feel like you should be shifting the priorities away from the original program to what is needed. Shelving needed, furniture needed. I get that. What I don't understand is what's next on the list, and is this committee prepared to perhaps shift some priorities around and deal with some of the must-haves? Are you prepared to fund the teen exit, to put some security there so that the kids can actually use that door to exit the building? That's something that Beth came to the committee and asked for, and that's pretty pricey.
Well, I
Is
think
that
Doug's
your
about to
list?
show us a list and. maybe
Yeah,
that's
I think it would be good to do that because honestly, the cupola, the teen exit, these have not been requested of the capital campaign. Whether or not they've been on the capital list for a year or two, no one has come to the committee and asked for those. So let me just share. Am I sharing my screen? I am.
Does the committee regularly meet with the trustees? Are they aware of how this funding is being appropriated?
Yep, every month we give a update
And do
as
they
part of the
vote on
agenda.
it, or you're just informing them?
Pretty much informing, I guess. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
So this is just, I've broken out 3 different pieces. One is what we've already contributed to the project over the last couple of years, what our account balance is here on the bottom, and what we have kind of slated for future projects. So and I can just go through the book list. I mean, there's a bullet list. There's a number of, things that theoretically the town could have paid for, but the funding from the capital campaign is offset those expenses. So the book sorting machine, various furniture, the railing that goes from the, that glass railing was kind of a nice to have. And the capital campaign stepped in and said we'd fund that. Partially funded the skylight, various furniture. A donor came to us for the green roof. Someone made a comment like we're not responding to the community. I mean, the community, this is what the community wants, and they seem to enjoy all of these things. So the large green roof that's above the community room, the smaller green roof that's above I guess, the vestibule, the entrance. Dana mentioned the patios, all of that landscaping that's on the common side and on the Grafton Inn. The majority of that was all funded through the capital campaign. So the teen patio, the stone walls, the landscaping in the front, the brick walkway in the front, the community gardens. Along the back property line, there was some enhanced landscaping. Again, these are things that, for the most part, a donor came to us and said, you know, I'd love to fund this aspect. That was all part of the, you know, the architect had all of this in their design. The lobby desk, I think Dana mentioned that. The original plan only had a single desk, and Beth and the staff realized that they needed a desk in the lobby and at the second floor. Various electrical outlets, park benches that are getting installed in the front, the piano. So those are all about $600,000 that have been funded. We currently have a balance of $265,000. And again, this is kind of a rough estimate, about $170,000 in future / active projects. We're putting some lighting in the community patio, which was specifically funded by a donor. There's probably $120,000 worth of furniture requests from the library that we're looking at. We've already funded some additional shelving that was in the children's rooms. And the community beds, these are the actual like vegetable gardens that are not, what's the right word? They're on the ground level. They're not accessible friendly. So we're going to be raising those beds so that, you know, someone in a wheelchair or someone that can't bend down can sit. And we've estimated that about $170,000. So, you know, the difference about whatever that is, $95,000.
Amy, I see your hand is raised.
This is all awesome. And I don't want anybody to interpret what I said to mean that none of these things are what the community wants. But you can probably understand the frustration that I have, first of all, that there wasn't a list of things that you fundraised for specifically, that it's basically the donors wagging the dog, right? Did you publish a list that said these are the specific items we need money for?
Yes, we did actually. We put together, well, you can't really see it, can you?
Okay, so all right, that's
We
great.
put together, yeah, we
You
put
funded
together
the
like a
patio.
little brochure.
So you funded the patio, but no one told you that it wouldn't be usable. And that breaks.
What patio?
The teen patio. The kids can't
Okay.
get to it.
So that is really, I understand where you're going with this, but I have to say a lot of that is on the construction managers. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't even know about that. I didn't even know the cost for that. No one came to us about the cost.
Yeah, that's a relatively new development.
And if there's, I mean, to your point, I mean, we don't have to Beth had wanted a lot of furniture. We had looked at it and we were trying to basically we're coming up with a plan of what's really necessary. So maybe we won't spend as much on the furniture. So things could be shifted. What happened is we definitely, for the amphitheater area, we want to get specific things that are for the kids so they can use them outside because that's what the librarians wanted. The furniture, I mean, maybe we don't get it right now. And I mean, that's one idea. Some of the stuff though was like Beth was asking us to order mirrors and stuff for some of the bathrooms, but we've just started working on that. So, I mean, maybe we don't do all of that, but I don't see how the capital campaign should be, for us to take on the whole cupola project, I don't think is a great idea when there are other funding sources. Maybe
So-
not within the town, but the historical, and they have funded our community's been funded by a lot of things. Even the Congregational Church had got some fundraising. We got some funds from the Cultural Facilities Fund in Worcester. So it's not, I mean, it's something that's been done is what I'm trying to say. It's not like something out that, wow, far-fetched. It isn't.
So who's allowed to make requests of the available money? Is this just something that you guys have your predetermined list of projects and whatever Beth needs. Like, for example, are you guys funding the new dedication plaque that's being installed?
Yes, I can talk about that. What happened is the construction group had created one that had lots of errors in it. Took them about, we were waiting for like a year, and finally I said, can we just do it? So we're funding that, the redo.
Could you tell me one of the errors in it?
Oh, I guess they forgot to put people's name. Let's see.
There were considerable errors, including the funding source.
Yeah, the
that
funding
Beth pointed
source
out.
was- Yeah,
There were
Karen-
some select board that was missing. There was the
Yeah.
new town administrator.
I believe Evan's name is on there.
there was, but we didn't, there were typos, and Beth was very upset the way that the funding was worded. She said that wasn't right. We had thought that they would redo it because they made the mistake, they being whomever the construction folks hired to do it. But we just couldn't, we just decided we have to have that. It has to be right. So that's why we said we would do it.
Jeremy, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. Yeah, just to maybe try to bring the streams back together here. Yeah, I don't think anyone here is, there's no argument about the value of the capital campaign. I think just to illustrate from the capital committee perspective, we're looking at requests for funds across the entire town, and included in that are a list of things for the library. And the challenge from where I sit is trying to understand, well, how can I evaluate a library request against a seemingly, unregulated or kind of not clearly controlled list of what the capital campaign is handling. And I think at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out how to work together to maybe share in the priorities and to partner on where the solutions are. I don't think anyone's suggesting that there's anything that you have to do by yourselves. It's a matter of trying to care for this resource and put it on the strongest footing possible as efficiently as possible. And looking at, there are real impacts, just to go back to the cupola again, there's real impacts for not dealing with that. There is damage that will be incurred if that isn't addressed. So that takes on a greater level of urgency, which is coloring all of these conversations. But I think primarily the central issue here is simply, I for one, I'm not really clear on how to work with you or how to incorporate what the capital campaign is doing in my consideration of the requests coming from the library side. So we're trying. My intent in being here today was to understand what it is you all do, and I have a lot of respect for what you've accomplished and what you are doing. But we have to look at the long-term maintenance of this facility and how can we support those efforts, but do so in a way that's responsible with the taxpayer monies. So that's the perspective. I just wanted to get that into the conversation. No other question.
That was really well put, Jeremy. Dana, I see your hand was going up. Did you want to respond to that?
No, I guess I don't agree that it's not a well thought out list, because it is. So I don't agree with that. But as we said, I also talked to Beth and I asked her, is there something that can be done in a short-term time for the cupola? So while we come up with a solution and come up with funding, but I don't know the answer to that.
And if I could just respond to that, I believe I said it's seemingly uncontrolled, meaning from our perspective, it's opaque. We don't understand where the list came from or how it's governed. So this meeting is helping with that. But we need a process going forward So that whatever new requests that are being considered, if the capital campaign is able to take it on, then funding shouldn't come from the town.
I don't completely agree with that, but I see what you're saying. I still really think that we should try to get some grants and that we have been successful.
Yeah.
Like I know Beth just got the LEED certification. Where did all that money go? It was like 150,000. Does anybody know?
No,
Because that could
I
be used for this.
completely agree with you. Any
Right.
grant money we can go after, we should be. But then the question is, okay, who's doing that? How are we going to collectively know where the progress is on that?
Well, Beth would have to work on that.
The overall library financial picture just has a lot more moving parts, and it's not centrally managed. So,
Right. Well, for example, the Friends, they fundraise and they give $10,000 a year for the programming. And no one, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, some of this is historical, but I guess I don't know. I just have to consider what you've been saying. Some of it seems a little harsh towards us, which which it's okay, because I know you didn't know what we were doing, but we have worked very hard for probably 3 or 4 years. And a lot of us have been doing things just to get out of the scope projects done, because there was no project manager, and there was no one else that really wanted to take it on.
Dana,
So
I don't think anybody is trying to negate the hard work that this campaign has done. I think I've heard it said several times, and I'll reiterate it, that everyone agrees that you guys have done a phenomenal job. It's what we're trying to understand is how things are prioritized and how things are funded, who gets to make requests of the monies that you have fundraised, and just get our minds wrapped around that when we do see the library has needs and the library has capital campaign money available, why those needs are being met the way they are. That's what we're trying to understand here tonight. I see.
okay. And a lot of that was by the direction of Beth and things that just didn't get done. So
Okay.
you should know that.
Yep. So that's the difficult part, is that we have a library director, we have a library capital campaign, and a library board of trustees. And then we have the town. There's 4 different entities, and it doesn't seem like anybody's communicating in an effective manner for us to understand who's doing what and why. And that's part of what tonight was about. But I do see several hands standing. So let me get to
Okay,
I'll do
that's okay.
Doug and then Amy.
I hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Doug, you're on mute.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I would just say all of the projects that we've done that are in this, I'd say the majority of these are at the top were under the guidance of the building committee. The building committee saw the architect plans. They saw the cost that, the potential cost of these. They reached out to the capital campaign and said, hey, would you guys be willing to fund, especially like all the community, the gardens and the walls. I mean, that was all on the original plans. Andy Duchesne, who was the OPM at the time, worked with the architect to put those together. Building committee looked at them, and of course requested the money of the capital campaign. So I do like the idea of moving forward, right? We do have this pool of money. Some of it we have set aside, but we certainly can look at new items and reassess what the future money is going to be expended on.
Amy?
Yeah, so when I looked at this list again, and I thought about what the capital requests were from the library for this year, and there's definitely a disconnect. And I'm is the board of library trustees consulted prior to the library director making these requests, either from the capital campaign or from CIPC? Because I feel like that would help. I mean, it would be like the school department going to CIPC and making the request without talking to the school committee first, right? And I feel like that might be part of the lack of synergy, that at least 2 of the board members for the campaign are on the board of library trustees. So they would at least know, I would think that you would want to know what the capital requests are for the library. Do you know? That's my question. Do you know what Beth asked the committee for this year?
Who are you asking specifically, Amy?
The folks who are on this call, who are on the library board of trustees.
So I personally saw it, I guess, the day of or the day before I joined your meeting, the previous CIPC meeting. So I honestly don't remember if it was presented it wasn't presented, but whether it was distributed to the trustees, prior to that. So I've certainly seen it. I don't know about Dana.
So the trustees never kind of had a meeting about it and discussed it then, is what you're saying?
Not that I remember. I mean, I've missed 1 or 2 meetings this year, but
Okay.
I mean, the library director is always presenting in her director's report things that she needs, things that are missing, whether it's a barcode reader for the book scanner or a checkout, what do you call it, like a security gate. So she's always mentioning those as items, but maybe not as formally as this is all of the list that's going into the capital planning.
And how does somebody request this money of the capital campaign? For example, Beth gives her capital request to the town administrator. Would the town administrator then come request money for XYZ from the capital campaign? Do you want that to come from the library board of trustees? Do you want that to come from the library director? What's the chain of command here?
Well, in the past, it's always been the building committee and Beth. And I was sitting in on the building committee. So the building committee would say, hey, lobby desk, right? We need a lobby desk. We don't have much money left. With the capital campaign fund it? I would then go to the capital campaign and say, look, the building committee's requested this. And sometimes Beth would come to us directly for the smaller items, these like the electrical outlets, stuff like that. But again, all of this stuff was part of the building process with the building committee. Now that that part is winding down, it seems to make sense that we would be getting requests from a committee like yours or from the town administrator or from Beth moving forward.
Right. I don't think it would come from our committee specifically, but it would be
From the town.
okay. Yep.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any other questions? I don't know if I can see everybody. If you have your hand up, just shout out because I can't see everybody. All right, no hands. All right, Doug, you can stop sharing if everybody's all set with this. So the purpose of tonight was to try to get a better understanding of how the library capital campaign functioned, what their priorities were, how they were prioritizing, what kind of funding they had available, and what their potential future projects look like. And I think we've accomplished a lot of that. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments that they wanted to make to try to better understand this available funding source for the library? Okay. Does the capital campaign want to say anything else about this funding source at all?
Nope.
Okay. I know I asked earlier about if you're going to be fundraising in the future. Does that, Amy made comments earlier about there should be an end date. I don't know enough about capital campaigns and 501c3s like this, if there needs to be, but do you guys plan to fundraise again in the future? Or any plan at this time?
I would say we have nothing planned, but we fully expect that there will be future fundraising.
Okay, and is that something how we can somehow collaborate with you guys where, let's say we have a hole in our roof, does the capital campaign now go out and raise funds to fix the hole in the roof?
Well,
It doesn't really seem like something that the community would fundraise for, but right, most people are wanting to fundraise for patios and benches. But I mean, yeah, theoretically, if it's appropriate for fundraising, we could consider it. We can do it.
So that's the other thing with the patios and the stone walls and these wonderful landscapes. Who's in charge of paying for the maintenance of those?
Well, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to hold a balance in the capital campaign, is to defray the costs, moving forward, whether it's a patio, the green roof maintenance, landscaping upkeep. I mean, that was one of the things we wanted to hold back some money for.
So seeing some kind of a comprehensive plan where $5,000 every year is going to go out for the next 5 years, that would be helpful for us too with our planning purposes. And I know for the town too, so they're not, double planning for this when there's already money available. And that's difficult when there isn't that comprehensive plan to look at as a resource. Is there a way that you guys could put something like that together for us?
Yeah, I'm not sure how comprehensive it'll be because
Yeah.
there's a lot of unknowns with the landscaping, but we can certainly have a list of items that we expect to be having to maintain, over the next 5 years.
Right, like tuning
Sure.
the piano, right? You know you're gonna have to maintain that piano. You know you're gonna have to do other things like that.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
I do want to add that there have been select board members on the planning and construction committee. I mean, they've been on those committees conferring that Doug was part of for several years. So I just want to, it's not like we're working in the, without any, we weren't working in the dark. Is
So
what I
there-
wanted to say.
But the select board members were not on the library capital campaign,
No, they weren't, but they were on the building and construction campaign.
right? Which is a different committee.
Right, and this is, yeah. But they're the ones that worked with Doug to say, this is what we really need funding for. Can you help us? Can we do this? That is what I'm trying to explain. It wasn't like we just, it was planned, it was vetted with other individuals and it was planned is what I'm trying to say. That's all.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, all of these expenses, all of these projects were all as a result of most of them out of the building committee and a few of them directly from Beth.
okay.
And I have to say, I mean, okay, that's all right. This has been helpful to me. I appreciate you looking into this. And I guess Beth was not on this meeting with us, but I guess I just wonder I don't know. I just wonder what she's considering or thinking about.
Well, I guess that's why I think I asked several times about the chain of requests, how it comes in. Is it solely from that plan from several years ago? And you're saying it's not just from Beth, it's from several different sources, but it's not, nothing, it seems consistent. It's not, it's this, and this is how it always goes. It could be over here because we need this, or it could be over there because we need that. And so-and-so asked for this and so-and-so asked for that. And that needed some clarity for us. And I think we got that tonight.
I think you should realize a lot of those requests were really urgent. And some of them just, I have to say that. I know, I agree with that, but we're talking a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And, so I just want to make sure, I don't want us to seem like we're, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but there are important things that we did. It's not like we spent the money on unwise things, and people specifically wanted things that they as donors are allowed to do, to request. So that's all I'm saying.
I've gotten a clearer picture as to how your capital program is working and how this all comes together, which is making things so much clearer as to who's in control of all of this, which is Beth. And she seems to be running the show, if excuse the expression, but I don't blame any of you for what you're trying to do here and all of your capital requests and items that you're doing. It's really nice that you're doing it, but I see a mixing of what should be construction and what should be capital programming. I think they're getting mishmashed together and they shouldn't have been. The construction, all that was there should have been left there. And if they couldn't afford it, then wait till you close out, when you're close to closing out your budget, then decide what you can and you can't do. But you don't do all of these things in the middle of your construction because you just don't know what your money is.
Well, I
don't blame you. And Dana, I know that we've upset.
I know, but I think you don't understand it. I mean, it's not, I don't know, Doug, I don't know if you can help with this. It's like,
Well, I'll give you one example is that glass railing. The building committee's opinion was the glass railing was a little bit expensive, right? It wasn't we could have done a railing that was less expensive, but it wouldn't have been as pretty. So that's when they came to the other group and said, look, would you fund this class railing? So that's an example of, I guess, a nice to have, not a need to have. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I just wanted to clarify that Beth, that's the majority of these projects were the building committee, right? These were in the building committee. Beth really has been more recent with like the furniture, the additional shelving, right? You got to the end,
Right.
the building opened and she realized there's needed some more shelving in the children's space. So that's when she came to us.
Has the building committee closed out their budget?
No, I mean, it's just, I don't know,
Have they done?
little pieces. I mean, we're still meeting each month, but it's really just these few items that have just been hanging on for way too long.
So to the members that are both library trustees and on the capital campaign, where do you guys step in as trustees members to say, hey, we really need to prioritize this?
So for me, I mean, that's Dana and I. For me, I was also on the building committee. So when I would give my report to the trustees, I would say, look, they're asking for funding for X, Y, and Z. This is how the building project's going. And then when I reported to the capital campaign, I'd say, look, these are some funding requests from the building committee. So it was all just, and those should all be in the monthly meeting minutes because it was a monthly agenda item.
So could you explain to me what happened with the cupola? Because I'll tell you, early 2020, I was given a tour of the library before walls were even put up. And it was identified to me by Andy Duchesne that the cupola was a problem then.
So from my trustee hat, I was assuming it was CPC, that this was going to be a grant that people were going to write, someone was going to write, Beth was going to direct, and we're going to look for CPC funding for that.
Okay. And then where's the follow-up on making sure that that was asked for? Because it wasn't asked for until just this past fall at CPC. And CPC turned it down because they viewed it as maintenance.
Yeah, that's where my knowledge stops.
Okay.
It's really restoration.
Well, it's difficult because they just said the same thing for a different project in town that arguably was restoration, but they called it maintenance. So they're kind of towing the line for, but again, that's why I suggest watching the meeting. I don't want to rehash.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I hear what you're saying because I know the other project, but I guess I don't agree with that. But
because CPC paid for the cupola the last time. So
I'm sorry?
CPC helped pay for the cupola the last time. So their thought was, we paid for this once. What was the maintenance to help prevent this from happening again?
Well, the thing you should understand is we haven't had a facility manager. So it's been the library director who's been involved with a lot of that. But to me, the way that I was looking at this, the cupola, I mean, we can't get rid of the cupola. I mean, if we could, it might not be a bad idea, but the Historic District Commission wouldn't like that. So what I'm thinking is, well, I hear what you're saying. This leads into what you're saying. If we go ahead as a community and we get all this money together and we fix the cupola, then what I'd like to know is, will it be monitored so that like within 5 or 7 years, maybe there's something that needs to be fixed. You fix it then, so you don't wait like 15 or 20 years till it's not working. But I think one of the problems is I don't know if we have anybody that's dedicated to facilities. But now that we see this as a great problem, we have to make sure that whatever is done to the cupola is maintained, and we look to make sure there's not something that we could correct along the way, so it won't be a lot of money.
Great. And that goes same for like the live green roof, right? Who's going to maintain that and make sure that that doesn't create an issue down there? It would be the same person, I would imagine. So there's already some capital campaign projects that have been installed that would still require maintenance and maintaining, just like the cupola.
Right, but I'm just saying, I guess what I'm trying to say to you, who is responsible for making sure, like we do the work on the cupola, the community does, we do, the town, the library, other groups. Who is going to be responsible? Because I don't know if we're all going to be here in 5 or 7 years to make sure that it's maintained so that it doesn't become this big, you don't have to redo it in 15 or 20 years.
Dana, I believe that's the
what I was
library board
thinking.
of trustees. The library board of trustees is responsible for the maintenance of the building.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the library director and the trustees would have that responsibility.
Well, I think we also, I mean, okay, I think we need to be working with somebody who is more, we need somebody who is really train, has experience as a facility manager and knows how to, I mean, like, what do we do? Get up on the roof? I mean, Beth has been up on the roof. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that needs to be discussed. And I think if you just leave it up to the trustees and the librarian, I don't know if that's
Well, I
going to be how that's going to work. That's all.
I would
And
think that the library trustees would hire a consultant or someone who does this kind of work and have them go inspect and give.
Well,
a-
that's what we did I was on the committee when we fixed it. And that's what we did. We had a consultant that came and looked at it. And I think Beth has had the same consultant come back and look at it. I think what happened is we had a library program that was under construction, and we had a lot of things going on at once. And a lot of our people that we thought were going to be helping us, it just changed, and there wasn't anyone to bridge the gap. So I'm just saying and we've been frustrated about that for a while, but that's why we tried to get other people involved. Like, that's where we were talking with Blake and we were talking with Evan.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Right. Well, I want to thank the Capital Campaign for joining us this evening. It's been very insightful, and I definitely think it answered a lot of the questions that we had. We do have one or two more agenda items if you guys want to stick around, but you don't feel the need to. We're just approving some minutes. So I can take a motion.
Okay. All right, thanks, everyone. And
Thank
obviously, if
you.
there's any other questions, feel free to follow up.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Yep,
Thank
thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
We appreciate all the work you're doing. And I know we're all volunteers. I really appreciate it. It's very important.
Likewise.
Right, so after our last meeting, Greg was kind enough to send us some minutes which were sent out, so I can take a motion on, I think that was November.
November 2nd was approved at the last meeting. I haven't done November 9th yet.
Oh, you didn't do the 9th? Okay,
No, I started watching the meeting for the first time about 3 hours ago. So
okay, you were there.
I'm in the middle of it.
All right, perfect. So then the next thing would be to discuss upcoming meeting dates. So what does the committee want to do as far as meeting again? Do you guys feel that we should meet again with Evan after the holidays to just? Amy,
I think we should start the process with Evan in January and see where everything is at and how he has prioritized his list, and that we can look at it and ask questions to him about it all.
Okay, Amy? Had her hand up and no longer does.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot to unmute the dreaded unmute. So I feel like we're still really unclear on the library request. I'm not sure how much of what we got is valid, is real, is planned, is communicated. I'm really concerned that the library trustees, it doesn't seem that they weighed in on that at all. And I know that Evan is going to meet with Jay about trying to address the ADA thing better. I don't know if you remember the slide that he presented. It was like, oh, and some leftover money. I think Evan wants to have like an actual amount that's dedicated to ADA stuff. I know that the wheelchair van is no longer on the list. We lucked out and we're able to get the one we have repaired. We'll still get some good years out of it. So that's off the table now. But I agree. I think we need a handle on what's still on the list, what's real. And I don't know where we're at. So I agree with Sue. We should probably start up after the holidays.
So I'll reach out to Evan and see what date he has available. Do you guys, what day that we've kind of been all over the board for days of the week, right? It's Monday. So what day of the week works best for people in January? I am not available on Tuesdays.
Monday.
Yeah, Wednesdays are our budgeting process is going to start in January for everybody. So Wednesdays are going to be out.
Yeah, bylaws meets the second and fourth Thursdays.
Okay, so Monday is looking good for at
Yeah.
least several of us. Does that work for Jeremy and Kyle?
I'm good.
Yeah, my availability changes by the week. So aside from that first week in January, other than that, I'm open.
Okay. I don't know
What's your
about
schedule for chorus?
Evan's availability on Monday, though. That might be tough. So I will, if Mondays are out, then I will gather a bunch of dates and we'll just try to dance around everybody's meetings the best we can. Might be an opposite Thursday from bylaw or something like that.
Yeah, we could alternate with
Yeah.
other meetings. That would work.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll send that out when I have it, and then I hope you guys have a great holiday if I don't see you, and I can take a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Colleen, aye. Have a good night, everybody.